Welcome to the Systems Simplified podcast, where we feature top leaders who share stories on how to successfully systemize a business. Now, let's get started with the show.
Hello, Adi Klevit here, the host of the Systems Simplified podcast, where I feature top founders, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders about systematizing a business. And today's episode is being brought to you by Business Success Consulting Group, where we create, document, optimize, and implement processes and procedures so businesses can grow and thrive. And the conversation with today's guest is going to be exactly about that. It's going to be about systems, about technology, about optimization. And that's Kate Guillen. Hi, Kate.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
You are very welcome. I'm excited to have this conversation.
Me too.
And I'm going to give a big shout out to Rick Walker, who introduced us. We were both guests on his podcast, so we're going to include that link to the show notes in our show notes, so people can refer to it and listen to those podcasts. And thank you, Rick. Rick is the CEO of Quick, and he has a podcast himself. And I highly recommend that you look him up and find out more about Rick and Quick, because he introduced us for a reason, because he's also all about systems. All right, Kate, well, let's start now with your bio, which is very impressive. So you are the founder of Simplicity Ops. Yes, I love it. That's why it's Systems Simplified, Simplicity Ops. So it's a company that helps financial advisors streamline their operations, optimize workflows, and integrate technology for better efficiency and client service. And we spoke before, and you mentioned, the most important thing is client services, awesome customer service. And you can do it if you actually have the right processes in place, the right technology, and the right ability, the workflows that will create the product. Now, you have extensive experience in investment management industry since 2013. You specializing in CRM optimization and process automation. Now, through Simplicity Ops, you partner with financial advisory firms to create scalable, client-focused, and profitable practices. Now, who doesn't want that?
Right.
And if our listeners are wondering, well, I'm not a financial advisor, totally okay. This podcast is also for you, because we're going to talk about general practices. And Kate herself implemented what she knows into her business to make it so successful. So this podcast is for everyone. And of course, we can give examples for financial advisors, but we can extrapolate it to every business, because every entrepreneur needs systems, need workflows, need automation and technology.
Well, thank you so much for the intro. That is fantastic. And this is my favorite thing to talk about. And you're spot on. My background is in, supporting financial advisors in an admin and ops capacity. And I learned how to, grow and scale and run a profitable investment advisory practice, which gave me the idea to start my own business, offering my expertise to other financial advisors that are looking to grow and scale their business with the implementation of systems, workflows, and technology. But it's interesting, I've applied that knowledge to my own business, right? And so some of the tools that we recommend are very specific to an investment advisory practice because of regulatory requirements and whatnot. But we've adapted a lot of those same tools to running my business, Simplicity Ops. And we had, I started the business, the idea was about like Christmas 2019. I took it to my boss at the beginning of 2020. He was gracious enough to say, why don't you work half-time on Simplicity and work, half-time for me, and like, see how this thing goes, and I started making more money on my side hustle in March of 2020 than I was working for the investment advisory business that, writing was on the wall. I had to quit my job. That was March 5th, 2020. The world ended about what? March 15th, 2020?
17, something like that. Yes, I know. It's the before and after.
Exactly. And there was never a more apparent time that we all needed online systems for running our businesses than when we all got sent home from the office. And so, I started Simplicity Ops with, $0 to our name at the beginning of 2020. And just adapted what I had learned about running an investment advisory practice and implemented systems, workflows, a CRM, and some key pieces of technology to help us grow our firm. And we, doubled revenue the first year, started to grow a team, and have just continued to grow and scale and run an incredibly profitable business because we use a CRM for contacts, tasks, our sales pipeline, a calendar, a proactive client service experience, which indicated to us, what kind of workflows did we need for all of the repeatable things that we do to help standardize our operations. Because, I don't think anybody would disagree with this. A business's number one responsibility is customer service and the client experience, right? That's what separates all of us.
You have such wealth of information, and I'm just like curious about all of it. I want to get as much information as possible.
Please.
Start with the technology. So what are the must tools that every business should have, especially a service-oriented business such as advisory? Like, what are the tools that people should have?
Yeah, and so I firmly believe that your CRM should be the hub of your business. So, I specialize in implementing CRM specific for financial advisors, but there's tons of CRMs on the market. You need to find one that can do, what I mean by it being the hub of your business is that it becomes your one-stop shop for contacts, tasks, your sales pipeline, your calendar, your client service experience, and workflows.
So you basically take it all the way. So you don't just stop with, because some CRMs are very good at the beginning part, the sales pipeline, right? So then once the engagement is being made, it moves into a specialized software for that particular industry. Right. But your recommendation is to look for something that takes you from all the way.
And I only say that because in my experience, the tools that are available to financial advisors, there are some very key CRMs available that do all of that. I don't have a ton of experience in Salesforce and some of the other big CRMs, but yeah, my whole mentality is, the name of my business is Simplicity Ops for a reason. I find that when you keep things simple, that's easier to understand and you get better adoption. I find that complexity, just people get really turned off, they get overwhelmed and they don't use the systems. And so I'm trying to cut down on all of the unnecessary places that you go to manage your business and consolidate your spreadsheets and your calendar and all of the open tabs into a single system. And that's why I have found such great success in using the CRM as what I call the hub of your business.
Right. That makes sense.
And then what I've learned as you start to do that, and you were kind of hinting at this earlier, is the CRM can't be all the things, right? It is just a CRM. There are some other tools that I would leverage to get the most out of your CRM, enhance the client experience and really empower the people on the team that are doing the work and preparing the paperwork and running the business and on the front lines of the client service experience. And I find that those become very apparent to you when you start to build out your CRM and you start to document your SOPs and you start to workflow the repeatable things that you do. You're like, oh man, I'm still feeling a lot of friction around client scheduling. It's important to me that we deliver a proactive client service experience, but scheduling sucks. It's too much back and forth. It's too much manual. You've got your note taker on here, taking notes, so that you and I can be present in this conversation. I'm not here scratch noting something, right? Taking notes is painful. Documentation of our conversations in our CRM. It's very important for financial advisors for compliance reasons, but even in my own business, I talk to so many people each week, people start to blend together a little bit. And I have to, I want to be able to go back into my CRM and say, what did we talk about? What were the key points? What were their pain points? Where can I add value? And so being able to document that, automatically, less manually than typing things out or dictating, and having a note taker that can take your notes, document the meetings, put in action items. So if I'm, downloading to you or the other person on my team, you have the meeting's minutes. You can see what are the action items as a result of that conversation in your CRM. And there's some really slick note-taking things available that integrate with your CRM and that will document those things for you so it's less manual. And
absolutely. Yeah, I use one right now. We're using Firefly for this call. It integrates with my CRM. But I find that, in order to get good meeting notes, you have to know how to prompt either the chat GPT, whatever AI you're using, or the note taker itself. Do you have any good prompts that you can share with the audience that you find that are helpful to you?
So it's interesting. Yes, and what I've done is, on my team, I'm responsible for all the business development, marketing, sales. There's somebody else on my team that handles all of the client relationships, but we have found that so many of our conversations are repeatable. And so we've actually built out templates within our note taker that capture a lot of what we talk about is the same. So it's capturing kind of the flow of the conversation. What are some of the key things that we want to identify? What are their pain points? Making sure that we really capture what is their issue and our recommendations and the solution, so that that's well captured in our database.
Right. I think that's key. Like if you have those templates, and then you use an automatic and some sort of an AI to take notes, and then you prompt it using the template, then you are able to create great meeting notes. I do experience that if I just let it do whatever, the meeting notes are hit and miss, and they are not always the same.
And I find that also true in these note takers that'll put together a follow-up email. So I believe, excellent customer service experience is after this call, we send an acknowledgement of like, hey, thank you. It was fun to talk. Here's what we talked about. Here's your responsibilities. Here's what we are going to do. And here's next steps. And so we prompted our AI note taker with, based on what type of meeting it is, we have a template for, whatever type of meeting it is, and the general flow. So it captures exactly what we are trying to communicate and what the follow-up action items are. And what I think is wild, and I don't believe that AI is going to completely replace people. I think we're going to work, together very well to be much more effective. But when I started this business, one of my very first hires was a virtual assistant that I paid like $75,000 a year, that sat in on those calls and took these notes and did exactly that. And so I haven't saved the $75,000 like completely, because I've reallocated that person to do something of higher value. But it has allowed them to do more meaningful things, go deeper in these relationships, and improve the customer service experience, because now I have an AI note taker, a robot, if you will, that is taking my notes and doing all those follow-ups to free her up to be doing the high value stuff.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it also takes everything to the next level, because she was not probably able to capture every single word.
That's a great point.
Now you can actually use her capabilities. So it's basically you have more to do. Now you mentioned a lot customer experience, and I agree with you. Customer experience has to be 100% the best. What are some of the tools or some of the things you implement in order to increase customer service, then the customer service experience?
Yeah, so the note taker is a big one, an online calendaring tool. I have found that to be a painful point, back and forth trying to schedule is not a great experience. It's stressful. It seems very disorganized if not handled appropriately. And there's a couple of tools that we recommend for financial advisors, because it plays nicely with the two leading industry CRMs. There's a tool called G Reminders, big G, big R Reminders. And then Calendly. We use Calendly a lot. I'm sure you're familiar with it. I got your reminder. But it, with the pairing of a tool called Zapier, which is kind of like a middleman, it'll push it to your calendar, it'll launch workflows, it'll add new contacts. I like it, like at the top of the funnel during the sales cycle, being able to capture like, who are you, what is your position, the size of your firm, the amount of money you manage, kind of just capturing some basic information so that I can make really good use of our time on that initial sales call. Just helps with, again, the experience. When we get on the call, I already know something about you. I can connect with you. We can have a meaningful conversation around your pain points because you've articulated them to me at the beginning of this process. And
how do people articulate? Do you have like a survey you send out, or as part of Calendly? Like, how do you do that?
Yeah, exactly. So my template, I keep talking about templates. I'm a big fan of templates, right? And so my Calendly template, when you go to book a call with me, it says, what's your first name, last name, your position at your firm, how many households do you manage? What does your tech stack look like? How much money do you manage? what are your pain points? What are your goals? Like, why are we talking today? Just to get an understanding. Well, one, for me, to make sure that I'm going to be able to help them, because it's very clear to me in that questionnaire whether or not we're going to be a good fit or not. And I have other people I can introduce them to be kind and mindful of our time if we're not going to be able to help them. And then also when we get on the call, just to be able to hit the ground running and really be able to have a meaningful conversation and make good use of all of our time on that initial, sales call or discovery call or whatever you want to call it.
I think it's very important. Absolutely. So what are other customer service tricks? I don't know if tricks, but actions that every firm or every professional service firm should have in order to elevate a customer service experience?
Yeah, and so this is one that's new to me, but I'm absolutely loving. And it is a custom GPT through ChatGPT. I upgraded my service to whatever the paid one is. And I have been able to create a private custom GPT where we are downloading all of our resources, all of our SOPs. I've built an online learning system, and so we've been able to take all those videos and transcripts and put them into the GPT and start to train it to think and talk like us, because I'm sure a lot of you can relate to this. When I first started the business, it was a very Kate focused business. I was the coach, I was the operator, I was the marketer, I wore all the hats, right? And so, with the building this team, I have somebody on my team named Catherine who now runs all of our relationships, but now it's a Catherine focused business. She's the technical expert. She has all of the technical knowledge. And so we rely so heavily on her that it's created a bottleneck. And I'm trying to get redundancy in that position for many reasons, but I couldn't figure out how to create redundancy in that position without hiring somebody. We need to be really, careful about how we hire and really thoughtful about how we hire. So I knew it was going to take some time. And so I had to figure out a way to tap into her knowledge without having to bother her. And so I found that by building out this custom GPT, that I was able to take all of her knowledge, all the calls that she's coached, every transcript, everything she's written, every good email that she wrote, explaining whatever, okay? Like, you think about when you write somebody an explanation about something, you're like, yeah, that's a killer email, and you go and you search your email to find the last best time you explained something and you copy and paste that to the next client. Well, we've dumped all of that now into this custom GPT that is searchable. It's our internal knowledge base now. And so I've hired a couple of overseas people, and we're building a team now. And so why this is so important is I believe that timely communication is excellent customer experience, not leaving people hanging, having consistent communication so they can trust that no matter who they talk with on our team, they're going to get the same answer. You know how frustrating it is when you call the service place twice and you get two completely different answers. It makes my blood boil, right? I don't want that to happen internally here. So by building out this knowledge base, now I could hire you tomorrow. You could come hang out on my team. Someone asks you a technical question about best practice for doing something, and you're going to get a response that sounds like Catherine and I, but was written by this GPT that anybody on my team can respond. And now you're going to get timely, consistent advice from everybody on my team.
Right. That's exactly right. We build the same. We call it Process Guru AI. Yeah. And it actually helps people, first of all, understand what it is when they engage with us, how it works, but also ask specific questions about process improvement and process documentation.
I love that. And one other tool that has completely changed my life is back when I started this business, and I was talking about me being the bottleneck and it being a Kate-focused business because I was the person with the most, technical knowledge on my team, is we worked with everybody very one-on-one. So if you were my client and you hired us, I would meet with you every week, every other week in a one-on-one environment, and we would answer questions, coach, teach, train, help with implementation, adoption, and be your accountability buddy. Well, that's not scalable, right? Because it's all me. And I was able to serve maybe 9 clients. That was 9 calls a week and do all the work. Okay. Then I hire Catherine. Now we're able to double it, maybe a little bit more because she's got a little more bandwidth because she's not running the business. So you get what I'm getting at here, but we keep hitting the ceiling. And not to mention, we're saying the same freaking thing over and over and over and over again. And we're about ready to blow our heads off because it's no longer energizing, right? And then the client can feel that it's not energizing, and it just didn't feel good to us. And so we wanted to figure out a way to scale our advice and scale our engagement. And what we built was an online learning system. And I had so many, self-limiting beliefs about this in the beginning because I'm like, no, they're paying us for the advice. They're paying us And what I learned was like, these people are coming to us with a problem. They do not care who and how the problem gets solved. They just want the freaking problem solved. And so by building this online learning system, it takes them through step by step by step, how we build out the operating system, how we coach, how we teach. And so now the engagement runs similarly, but they review the content first. Every module is 5 to like 25 minutes. They can review it on their time at their own speed. They can listen to it 2-3 times if they want. And then when we get together, now like they're asking, we're just making really good use of our time. They're asking really good questions. They've started to play with the system. They're figuring out what works, what doesn't work. And now they're not having to learn something new, expect to adopt and implement and have questions all on the same call. And so what this has done is it's allowed us to like 3 times our triple our client load, if you will. We can work with upwards of 30 something clients at a time now because we are not responsible for delivering all of the advice. We're not responsible for doing all the coaching. We've got this online learning system that they have as a resource, which is allowing us to meet with them less frequently. And then when we do get together, they're really impactful calls because, like I said, they have some understanding of why we coach, how we coach, what are they expected to learn and start to implement so that when we get together, we can really be keeping the ball moving forward.
Absolutely. I think it's very smart. I think you're really, it's a great combination between technology and keeping it human and keeping that human connection, but still increasing the service because people are getting used to it right now. I mean, it's instantaneous. We do want to go into an AI and ask a question and get an answer. I mean, that's what we're getting used to. Yeah. So if you're actually providing the right answers, because that is also part of the liability, you don't know if you're getting the right answers. If I don't go to your trained GPT or to where you are leading me, I might get a generic answer and it won't be vetted by you. So we really hope that what we are doing on a custom one that is vetted by us, that will give a better tool to our customers.
Absolutely. Yeah, these tools have been game changers for us. It's allowed us to, grow and scale the business, 10x revenue, all that kind of stuff. But it's allowed us to deepen our relationships with our clients, which, for my business, I thought everything was going to be very project oriented. Like, okay, we engage, we build out your operating system, we teach you how to use it. Adios after, 8, 10, 12 months. Well, now we have more time to go deeper with our clients. We have this online learning system. It's created a real stickiness where we are now creating lifelong partnerships, and it's less transactional, less project, and it's much more, they look at us as like an outsourced operations team and a partner that's going to help them as the tech landscape evolves and all these new tools are coming out, and like keep them accountable and help them improve their processes and procedures. Because one thing that people forget, it's all good to talk about all this, systems and workflows and stuff and all the technology, but these are living, breathing components of your business, and they need to be maintained ongoingly forever. And so if you've got somebody on your team with the skill set that can do it, great, good for you. But in most cases, they want the people that built the system to maintain it ongoingly. And it's been an interesting evolution. And now that we've got this online learning system, it makes it infinitely easier to help them to have that resource available should they have questions or want to train a new hire. Their team is growing and they want to bring somebody up to speed quickly. It eliminates that kind of the one-on-one component.
Absolutely. So would you say, Kate, that you systematize your business and you are able to scale your business because you added that online training component where your clients can go and gather information on their own, and then you became even more valuable for them because the time spent with you takes them, or they're already educated and you took them, it takes them to the next level.
Absolutely. It's the combination of everything. Our business really started to take off when we practiced what we preached and we had standard operating procedures for everything that we did. We started to template the heck out of everything. And I had the same, reluctance that our clients do. It's like, man, that's a lot of work, but it's short-term pain for long-term gain. And so once we got, our systems and processes down, we got workflows in place, we got technology in place. Well, scaling the advice was still a pain point. So how do you scale the advice? And so this is what I mean is like, take chunks out of your business. What is the biggest pain point right now? Solve that, okay? And you're going to continue to feel friction points as you grow, as you hit new revenue numbers, as you add team members, as you implement new technologies. It's just the name of the game. And so I just try to be very strategic about what we're going to tackle first, second, third, and fourth. And as a result of standardizing this stuff, it has allowed us to 10x revenue, 3 times our business, their client load, raise prices, grow a team, the whole deal.
Fantastic. Well, Kate, if people want to find out about you, how can they do that?
Check me out on LinkedIn. My name is Kate Guillen. You can visit our website at simplicityoperations.com. Shoot me an email, info@simplicityops.com. We're all over the place. We have a lot of fun, but connecting on LinkedIn is a great way to keep in touch. Or shooting me an email would be awesome.
Awesome. All right, Kate. Well, thank you so much for being a guest on this podcast. That was an amazing conversation about operations, about systems, and also about automation and how to still keep the humanity in it, keep the advice, but take everything to the next level. So thank you so much.
Thank you for the opportunity. I enjoyed the conversation.
Thanks for listening to the Systems Simplified podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.